don't know if you guys do this or not, but I'm trying to decide what I really want to do with this hive. It needs some help to get it through winter, and I'm just trying to decide exactly what. Here's the issue. It was really strong all summer long. And then it got a pretty good load of mites that I kind of had a little convincing to my mentee that we needed to get that under control right away. And so we did. Finished a Formic Pro treatment a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I can't really remember. It might even be close to a month. And when we went in to expect for the queen about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, she was still there. And of course, it's now, what, November 14th, 15th? And the brood cluster is definitely smaller. So still quite a few bees in there. But the first thing I'm noticing today on this beautiful 65-degree day, there's bees flying, but there's not that many bees. And I told my mentee that I feel like I don't want to give up on it. So we're going to actually wrap this hive with some Reflectix. And I'll tell you why I chose this here in just a moment. But I noticed another thing. He's been gone for a few days, and he came in here and fed sugar, and we actually fed a pollen patty, or part of one, because this hive has very little resources. I'm going to say 2.5 to 3 frames of honey tops, and very little pollen stores. And he left it the last 3 days, I think it's been. That lid has been ajar this whole time. So I'm not sure what we're going to see, but we're going to go ahead and get in here and just assess the top real quick, get that under control. I am pausing for a moment here to mention we have decided not to reduce the boxes down to 1 box or manipulate the position of the honey frames at this time. Instead, we will try to keep them warmer and supply sugar bricks throughout the fall and winter until we can begin feeding syrup again. And then we'll talk about what type of insulation I think I've decided to use on this hive. I've went back and forth, and we'll discuss that. Those little bees are trying so hard to remove that sugar that fell to the screen bottom board. Oh, it just kind of slid there. Well, it's got insulation under it, so that's a good sign. At least that's been on there. I don't see. This here is probably what's holding it up. If you can see, these have tabs on it. So it's probably holding it up a little bit. Let's see how much sugar is left on this. He came out and fed it before he left a few days ago. Let's just see here. Oh, that looks pretty nice. A lot of bees in there. And that worries me too, because the more bees, the faster they go through the feed. There's no moisture on the lid. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to set this off to the side down here in front. This is his first year of beekeeping, and I've been trying to work with him pretty good between his schedule and mine. He did come out here and feed more sugar bricks, and what I'm going to do is move all this towards the center. He has it kind of spread out here, and I'll probably start with the pollen patty and get it closer to where the brood would probably be. I'm going to move this, and I'm going to put it crossways. I'm going to turn this around so that it's going this direction, so that it's covering more of the frames. And I think that's really all I'm going to do. They've been working on this pretty good. I'm going to move this one over here a little bit, maybe. Just closer to the center. When it's cold out, they try to make the cluster right towards the center anyway, if they can, depending on where the brood is. But I'm just moving it around. I think that's good. We're going to put the lid back on. That's all I needed to do, is just make sure the lid was on there. Let's go ahead and get it back on. I'm going to go ahead and shake these bees off in here. Now there's a lot of propolis on here, so when I put this on, I'm going to try to actually squeeze it back together like glue. I'm going to just do that. Give them a, make sure nothing's between it. Get it all evened up here. Because what we're going to do today is try to close off all of these gaps so the air is not getting in there. I'm going to squish all this together as much as we can. Okay. Now we're going to put this back on. And I'm just struggling with this here. I think I'll just leave it like he had it. We'll leave it like this. We're going to put this right back on top, but I'm going to push it down so that those tabs actually grab into this and doesn't raise it up. So there's that. Let's get the lid back on. Yeah, that looks much better. I'm going to go ahead and put the bricks on top. Here's my reasoning for settling on the Reflectix. First, it's obviously going to shelter them from any wind or rain and the cold. And we have the insulation on top, so don't have to worry about that. We're just going to use this as a wrap. And the reason I chose this is because I feel like using an 1.5-inch piece of styrofoam all the way around it is just too much. And honestly, over the night, sure, that's great. It'll help kind of heat that hive. You know, they're not having to heat the whole hive anyway. They're just heating around their cluster. And, you know, with that insulation, that'd be great. But then during the day, because that insulation is so thick, and even if the sun was shining on a nice bright day like this, it takes a while then for the inside of that hive to warm up enough that they feel like coming out and flying. At least that's my theory. So this here is what I've settled on because it will absorb the heat and it will keep the cold out. So let's get this cut and I'll show you why I'm not going to wrap it around. I'm actually going to cut the sections, all 4 sides. Let's get started. So before I get started actually taping that completely around, I'm going to reduce the entrance even more. He has about 2/3 of it open, and I'm going to reduce it down to even more, like 1 inch. So let me get my gloves on because they're probably not going to like it very much. And I really don't feel like getting stung today. So we're just going to move this one. Let's make sure, see if this one fits. That one should fit. Yeah, that one's going to fit. I'm just going to put that one up there. See if I can get it in there a little bit better. There we go. All good. Now they just have one little hole in front. Now let's get to wrapping. If I was to wrap this around the hive, you know, and I'm trying to stretch around the corners, it tends to want to bubble up and leave, you know, too much space on the corners. I don't like that. So I've taped all mine together. Now I'm going to wrap it around. It is going to cover the front entrance until we get to that point. I'm going to tuck it up underneath the lid, and then we'll come back around the front. Oop. So you can see I've got the corners all taped up, and it goes all the way to the bottom of the hive. And the front, so that's all that there is that one little hole. I think we're going to be good. Hey y'all, leave me a comment and let me know why you think this hive has such low food stores. Do you think maybe he just didn't feed enough going into fall? Or maybe it just had high mite loads weakening the hive? Looking forward to your comments.